Three, two, one. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're listening to this. I just got back from the gym and wanted to start some work early today, so we're going to get right into it. Today was shoulder day to get them boulder shoulders, to get them big old mountain slopes on the sides. One of my favorite workouts is shoulders. So obviously this morning I had my Dust X from Blackstone Labs. I'm super excited about it. It's my favorite product from blackstonelabs.com. Shout out to PJ Braun and the entire staff over there at Blackstone Labs, putting out great products for the fitness and workout industry. And if you haven't tried it yet, remember you can always use my promo code Barbarian Guns and Subs for 25 to 30% off your purchase at blackstonelabs.com, or you can contact my rep Dominic Maldonado at Dominic Maldonado on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, it's Barbarian Guns and Sups, and you'll know it's me because it says Barbarian G and S Fit. Um, but you can find me on Instagram at Barbarian Guns and Sups if you want to chat with me, DM me, whatever. Hit me up there. Excuse me, getting a drink of water, rehydrating after the gym. I'm super pumped up right now. I think I still got some of the pump and the rush going from the pre-workout Dust X. I'm telling you, I can't say enough about it. So anyway, let's get into it for a minute. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the world of politics, and we don't really care about that. I mean, what's going on with the Supreme Court justice pick from President Trump, or Agent Orange, as Eminem likes to call him, uh, that President Trump nominated for the Supreme Court was Judge Brett Kavanaugh, and he's being accused of sexual. I'm not following it super closely, so I can't really tell you what the actual charges are. Let me pull it up real quick, so I don't want to give out bad information because somebody will call or write or cry and say, well, this and then blah blah blah, and I don't have time for that. Not that we really care about politics on this show. We mention it in passing just because, but um, you got the president tweeting again already. I don't know if he ever stops. Um, let's see. There's all kinds of stuff out here. Christine Blasey Ford. I don't know if that's how you pronounce that, but apparently Judge Kavanaugh is being um, accused of sexual assault. And I've watched a little bit of it, and I wasn't there. And seems like there's only three people that were actually in the room if this took place. You don't want to discredit a victim of sexual assault. Obviously, it's a very serious charge, but I mean, I don't know. I'm not too savvy on this, and it's not something that I care to really debate about because I think that every victim should be heard, but I also think that this is an issue from what I've gathered that there's not a lot of evidence and it's a he said she said, and both sides are going back and forth about that, and it's just I don't know. I'm It's not what we're here to talk about. So anyway, back to the workout. I'm super pumped up. I just did shoulders, as I said in the opening, and shoulders are one of my favorite workouts. And so today I can kind of give you a rundown of what I did. And so we'll start with what I do for a warm up is I'll grab some 20-pound dumbbells and I'll do um, a kind of like an endurance slash fatigue set right out of the gate, just to kind of really trick the muscle and really get a blood flow pumping through there with the dumbbells. And so I like to start out and just you know fatigue the muscle as quickly as possible. And there's lots of different um, opinions about working out, and that's why I like it because it's so personal and everyone can do something, and not everybody's body reacts the same way. So, what I start out with is, like I said, 20-pound dumbbells, and I do front raises until I can't do any more, and then I do side raises or lateral raises until I can't do anymore, and then I take about 2-minute rest in there, and then I get into the actual meat and potatoes of the workout. And so what I'll do is after that um, fatigue warm up, I jump in and I do front raises with the dumbbell, and I like to switch in between kind of the hammer style grip and then the more traditional raise where you're kind of making a fist and lifting it out. I'm not super technical on terms and working out, so I'm sure some meathead's gonna message me or whatever and be like, "Oh, you're an idiot. You don't even know what you're talking about." Like I said, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a physiologist. I'm not qualified to give workout advice, and I'm not here to do that. I'm just telling you what I do and sharing my experiences. So hydrate or die, right? That's what they say. Um, so I start out with the front raises, and I like to switch the grips to kind of hit different parts of the muscle. And so what I'll do is I'll start out with a 30-pound dumbbell in each hand, and I do uh, between 13 to 15 reps on my first set, and then I take a probably 30-second to a minute break, and then I do with the same weight. I do side lateral dumbbell raises, and I hit that medial deltoid. So basically, you do the front raise and then the lateral raise, and that's one set. And then I'll take 2 minutes a break, obviously, so I can hit a selfie on the Snapchat or Instagram, or make a post or argue with some dummy on social media just because I'm in the gym and I am focused, but I have to be doing a lot of things at once to stay focused. I'm not one of those persons that can do one task all the time and I'm super focused on it. Like my mind's always going, so I have to be doing a lot of different things at one time. And so after the 2 minute break of wasting time in the gym and pissing people off because I'm sitting around on a machine or on some weights and they're getting mad because they can't use it, I will go back and I'll do another set. Now, this time I use the 35-pound dumbbells today. Obviously, as I get stronger and get bigger, we'll increase the weights just like anybody else does if that's your goal, obviously. So I went to the 35s and I did the front lateral raises, waited 30 seconds to a minute, and did the lateral raises. Um, and then I took another 2 minute break. And then, for that set, I did anywhere between 10 to 12 reps. I think I did 12 today. Um, After the break, I went in and I went to 40-pound dumbbells. And this is where I like to do things a little bit different than some people. Some people I've seen do this, so that's where I learned it from. I'm not saying I'm like some inventor of this, but I went to the front lateral or the front raises and the side lateral raise, and I did. Uh, I normally do 8 to 10 reps, but today I did 10 reps of the front raises and the lateral raises with a 40-pound dumbbell. After that, I took a 30-second rest and I went back down to the 20-pound dumbbell and I fatigued myself again until I just couldn't lift the front. And then I waited 30 to a minute and then I went back in and I did the lateral raises with the 20-pound dumbbell to fatigue to where I literally just could not lift my muscles. As soon as I was finished with that, I did some elbows in close to the body push-ups, and then some wide grip push-ups to just get some blood flow going through there and pump that blood through the deltoid muscle and feed it. Um, not a lot of push-ups, just probably 8 to 10 of each um, grip, just to get the blood flow going. And so then that was four sets, and then we go to one of my favorite workouts, which is the I like to use them with cables, but you can also do them with dumbbells, and it's for the rear delt. And basically, I really don't know the technical term of this workout, so forgive me just a second. It's like a rear delt fly with the cables, is what the bodybuilding.com, one of my favorite places to go see what everybody else is doing. But the rear fly cables, like I said, I'm not a technical guy. I don't care what you call this stuff. I just go in and do it. I want the effects. I'm training for effect, not for um, writing a book on this. That's I'll document my work, and I'll try to get better at that so that all the gurus don't come knocking on my door and bashing me and say, "Oh, you're an idiot." Okay, well, I'm smarter than you in other areas. I'm pretty sure. So as long as I look good and it's working for me, then shut the hell up. So we go to the rear delt flies on the cables, and I do fatigue sets. I do 4 sets until fatigue. Uh, Pretty high weight, but I also try to make it high reps. So I think today I started at about 40 pounds on high weight for me. Sorry, I don't want to offend some of these meatheads and no necks and pencil necks who are like, well, that's not high or that's too high. I started at 40 pounds on the cables and did my rear delt flies. I don't know what the count was today. I think it was close to like 25 reps. Um, I just did it till I just could not do it anymore with good form. And then I took a minute break. I like to do 30 seconds to a minute break in between that. And then I bumped the weight up from 40 to 50 pounds. I didn't go 45. I wanted to really punish the muscle, like I said yesterday, punishing myself for maximum effort and gain. And, somebody out there be like, well, you need to rest, this and that. Okay, well, what works for me and what works for you, we're two different people. We're not the same. We are not built the same. Genetically, we're not the same. You can probably do something I can't, and I can do something you can't. So, whatever. Um, so, I did 4 sets of those, and I just bumped it up by 10. So, I got to 60 was the heaviest I got to on the rear delt cable flies, and then I dropped it down to, I think we went to, it probably went back to 40, and then I did another set of those, but I did them quickly. Like, so what I like to do when I'm working out is I like to just squeeze on that at the end position. I like to really squeeze before I release it, and so it's a little slower. I like to do between a 3 and a 4 count movement. And so on this last set where I was going like lighter weight than I had gotten up to when I dropped back down to the 40 pounds, I did fast fatigue, um, whatever you want to call that. I don't know what the technical terms are, like I said, but I did it quickly, trying to get as much in there. I couldn't tell you how many reps I did, but afterwards I was feeling it. I was burning, it was throbbing, and I was feeling great. Looking at myself in the mirror and just really, I killed it. So then we did more push-ups to get that blood pumping back through there, and then I did the rear cable delts with uh, dumbbells. I did one set of those with pretty heavy weight for already being fatigued. I think I went to like 45-pound dumbbells, and I did a max rep of those. I think I probably got to like, excuse me, I think I got to like 12 reps there. So after that, I did some more push ups to pump that blood back through there. And then we went to the final exercise of my shoulder workout today because it was a quick one. I have some stuff I have to go do. Um, so I could not do my regular 2 hour long workout in the gym. Um, so I did kind of like a shoulder press on the Smith machine. I like the Smith machine because you can really get a good squeeze there. Um, Obviously, because it's helping balance. Now, I know everybody's like, "Oh, what a pussy, the Smith machine." I love the Smith machine. And say what you want. I'm not here to tell you how to do your workout. I'm just here to tell you what I do, and it works for me. So if you criticize me, I will end you. I will put it to you, and that's. I mean, I'm not here to tell you what to do. So quit trying to tell me what to do. We did 4 sets on the shoulder press on the Smith machine with fairly lightweight. I did probably bad at math right now, trying to math, not working. So I'm going to pull out the handy dandy calculator because back in school, all the teachers said, "You won't have a calculator everywhere you go." Well, guess what? It's 2018 and I have a smartphone and a calculator everywhere I go. So I did 135 pounds, 4 sets of 15, and afterwards my delts were on fire. I was feeling it. So that was the end of the lifting portion, and then I like to do 2 rounds on the heavy bag and the banana bag. Just doing some basic combinations, jab cross and jab cross hook, and whatever creativity comes into my head. I try to work the basics and make sure my form looks good, make sure I'm getting the right snap, make sure my hands are coming back fast to my face, and I mean that's just how I do things. I'm not telling you how to do it, and you know how you do it's probably better for you. We're all in different places in our lives, and this is just what I do to enjoy myself, to stay in shape, and have fun while looking pretty swole. So that is what I did today. I did 2 rounds. I think a minute and a half each. I'm not training to be a fighter. If I did, I'd be way more uh, determined to really put in some work today. And so I had, like I said, I have some stuff to go do. So uh, I couldn't spend a whole lot of time on it. After the 2 rounds on the bag, I stretched out, and then I came back, and now I'm hydrating and talking to you all. um, so that was pretty much my shoulder workout. I normally do a lot more exercises, different grips. Um, I like to do a lot more sets, but today I just did not have the time, and so right now I'm getting ready to take the Recomp RX from Blackstone Labs and eat my afternoon meal and take another round of the Apex Mail from Blackstone Labs. I'll do that while we're talking, actually. So forgive me for a second as I swallow these damn supplements and drink some water. If you hear some silence for a few seconds, you'll know. Yeah. So overall, it was a pretty quick but effective workout. I'm not saying I don't Take one capsule 3 times daily. Just just FYI for you if you're wanting to try the Recomp RX from Blackstone Labs. And the Apex Male is three three tablets 3 times a day. That's once again that's a testosterone booster. Oh, I'm sorry, four tablets twice a day. 4 tablets twice a day for the Apex Male. Anyway, shoulders are normally a longer day for me when I go to the gym, but today I have stuff to do, like I said, so didn't have time. Um, let's talk about something else too while we're on the subject of shoulders. I got my lion tattoo with the crown of thorns on it, and this sounds this might sound cheap to some people, but I ever since I got the tattoo, my right side just looks amazing. Like that shoulder hat really makes the shoulder pop and just looks a lot bigger. So now, naturally, I can't wait to get another tattoo on the left side. Um, so that the shoulders look even bigger, both of them. That's a. I'm not telling you all to run out there and go get tattoos. If tattoos are not your thing, don't do it. I'm not saying, hey, everybody want to look bigger? Go grab a tattoo. No, I'm pretty strict about what I want as tattoos and what I put on my body and what I put in my body. So um, I suggest and I would hope that everybody treats their body the same way, that they're very cautious about what they do to their body and what they put in their body. Um, but if tattoos are your thing and you're into working out and you want your shoulders to look even bigger than they are, then I say go get some tattoos done. If not, don't do it. Don't let anybody pressure you into it. Don't do it just because you want bigger shoulders. I'm not saying tattoos make your shoulders grow. They make them look bigger, makes them appear bigger. That's the illusion, at least in my opinion, and for me and my tattoo. Um, but yeah, I mean, I post photos all the time on Instagram. So, like I said, if you're following me on Instagram, it's Barbarian Guns and Sups, and you'll know it's me. Like I said earlier, Barbarian GNS Fit. You can follow my wonderful, self-centered, conceited, egotistical journey on Instagram. Isn't it really funny? Like the more social media outlets that come out, the more egotistical we realize people are, self-centered they are. Like back in the day, people could hide it because they didn't have these mediums, and you would not know what you're getting into. But now you pretty much know if these people are all about themselves or not, from their social media. It's the cat's out of the bag. We can't hide anymore. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm just blown away with, like, you see all these people that, here's how you know that those people are not self centered and stuck up. When you go to their Facebook or Instagrams or whatever medium they're on, and most of their posts are not about them, and they're not having a selfie every 10 seconds. Those are the people that are not. Those are the people that you want to confide into because they're not all about themselves. Now, I'm not saying that we're all bad people because we post pictures of ourselves. That's not what I'm saying. But when 90% of your social media posts is a picture of your face and what you're eating and what you're doing today, and you're all about you, well, then I think we have some uh, reason to be cautious there. However, I do it. I'm guilty of it. I'm not saying that we're bad people just because we love ourselves. Well, that's interesting. Let's talk about that for a second. So, before I went to basic training uh, several years ago, I had a. Um, I went and got a massage because I wanted to be relaxed and kind of stress free before I left. because I was going to be gone from my family. And anyone who's ever joined the armed services and um, gone to the military, gone to basic training or boot camp or uh, basic military training. But I don't remember all the names for everything. But anybody who's ever gone through that knows that it's a stressful and trying time because you're leaving your family behind. Most of you for the first time, because most people that join are younger, and so I remember I wanted to be as stress free as possible before I left. So I went and I got a massage from a close friend at the time, and during the massage, she told me because I kind of I told her about how I was feeling and my concerns and worries, and she told me to take care of myself and that no one would love me as much as I love myself. And when you first hear that no one will love you as much as you love yourself, you think, "Oh, that's egotistical or that's self-centered," or but it's not. When you really break it down and think about what she's saying that at the end of the day, you will always have your back. You will always take care of yourself before anyone else will take care of you. And that's so true. I believe it's true. And it stuck with me, and I took that with me when I went to training, and I've taken it with me ever since in everything that I do. Whenever I have nerves or I'm getting in front of people or doing some type of event or performance or speaking, I always remember that no one no one cares about me as much as I care about me. Not even your own family cares about you as much as you should care about yourself, because at the end of the day, you're the only one that's with you all the time. You're the only one that's with you 100% of the time. You're the only one that's always looking out for your best interest. You're the only one that doesn't have an ulterior motive uh, when it comes to your decisions for you. And so what a wonderful piece of advice, I think. And it's not self-centered and egotistical to think that way. Now, if you're, it can be. Don't get me wrong, it can be. So if you're like, well, I only care about myself and I don't give a shit about other people, well, that's wrong too. Um, but you should care about yourself highly. And so, I mean, but let's go back to the social media postings and everything. It's very interesting, and I'd love to have some experts on psychology and uh, different studies come in and talk about this. And I have some people that I can contact and bring on to the show, and we can talk about it and see what the technical terms are, the peer reviewed views and visions are. But to just to me, it's interesting because social media has really brought out an interesting time in our lives. And on one hand, a lot of businesses can be ran, and people who have never had the opportunity to start a business can start for fairly cheap and fairly cheap promotion. The internet is super cheap on promotion right now. Like, a lot of people think it's expensive, but paying for a billboard and a radio commercial is a lot more expensive than paying for a YouTube commercial or a Facebook ad. And so, I mean, it's interesting to think about what the internet has done positively for people and for business, especially for people who've always wanted to own their own business, but they don't have the capital to do so. It's a cheaper medium, and it's very underpriced right now. And I've heard a lot of experts say that. Gary Vaynerchuk is big on how cheap the internet promotion is right now. Um, but there is um, a darker side, if you will, to social media, and that is that not only can false narratives and false information be put out, and people just believe everything they see, and that's kind of really up to you. That's yourself. That's your responsibility to weed out bad information. Um, and not just believe everything you see. But there's the news travels super fast now, and fake news or whatever you want to call it, and misinformation travels just as fast. So not only can you put bad information out there or misuse that information that is out there, but it also opens up for narcissistic people and people that want to do you harm. It opens the gateways for them because they come out. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I have a lot of friends that are on Facebook, and they rarely post anything. Now they probably get shitty at me. They're all they. I mean, a lot of them tell me all the time, "All I see is your post on my feed." But I love memes. I'm constantly posting memes that are probably not suitable for every situation or very good memes to post anyway. But I have a sense of humor that finds those memes funny, and you know, what can I say? Maybe if you want to say I'm a bad person because I find awkward things funny, then let's talk about it because I get uncomfortable actually about weird situations. Like let's go off topic for just a second. I'm talking about uncomfortable situations. Like when I was at a funeral of somebody that I did care about deeply, and everybody else was crying, and the only thing that I could do to control my emotions and to deal with the situation was find something that was um it was not a great moment in that person's life, but we all laugh about it now. And I remembered that while I was at the funeral, and I just started laughing, and people were like, "What the hell's wrong with this guy? He's insensitive." Blah blah blah. Well, that's just how I deal with those uncomfortable situations. I found something that was reminiscent of that person, and something that I remembered and that we all cut up and joke about now. That was pretty serious at the time, but then even that person laughed about it in the end. And I just remembered that good time and I laughed. I think that some too many times the death of someone is selfish and on our parts because we're losing them. We don't want to let go of them. And so we mourn and we make it about us, when reality is that that person's life should be celebrated, and we shouldn't be crying and worrying about how we feel about losing that person. We just need to honor them, and you know, eh, and I'm not telling you you shouldn't feel sad or anything like that. Don't get it wrong. All I'm saying is we all deal with things differently, and for me, in that instance, I found something that was kind of serious but inappropriate, and I laughed about it, and that was how I controlled my emotions when I was losing somebody close to me. Um, so that's just like different people deal with things differently. So inappropriate memes might be offensive to some people, and that's fine. I mean, we're all offended by something, and the more we go down this path of worrying about offending everybody and every little thing, it gets worse. And that's part of the problem with social media is we're constantly um offending people, but then we're turning around saying, well, we shouldn't offend anybody. But you're if the majority of people really were concerned about offending people, they wouldn't be posting and creating all these offensive memes. And so, if your sense of humor is that you like to laugh at inappropriate things, I'm not going to judge you or say you're a terrible person. But like I said, it does travel way quicker than it used to. And so, things you used to joke about inside your living room, on your couch, and behind closed doors, and you say it out in public, you do have to be responsible for that. And so, I'm not saying you shouldn't be how you feel or say how you feel, but you do have to deal with those consequences. And I think everybody, responsibility and accountability are lacking right now. I believe in society. We all want to say and do what we feel, but we don't want to deal with the consequences of those actions. And that's why it's dangerous. That's why social media can be a negative. Um, but yeah, I mean, just be cautious who you talk to. I mean, if you see somebody who's constantly posting photos of themselves and constantly talking about themselves, but doesn't ever show concern about anybody else, then I mean, it's your choice. And if those people are your friends and you continue to be their friends, then that's fine. I mean, no one's. I'm not saying you're a bad person because of it, and I'm not saying those people are bad people, but you can't. Don't be surprised if one day they turn around and stab you in the back and only care about themselves because the signs were there. You should have seen them coming, and you either ignored it or whatever. I don't know. I'm just saying you can't ignore the signs and then be surprised and blame that person for something you chose not to take action on. And like I said, accountability and responsibility are severely lacking in our society right now. It's a very interesting topic, and I'd like to discuss that with some of the people I know that are students of that type of study. But I don't know. It's interesting, and we can definitely just need to protect ourselves. And like I said, no one's gonna love you as much as you love yourself, and that's great advice. And it's not egotistical, and it's not narcissistic or self-centered. It is just to rephrase it, I guess, if you want to make it a more welcoming statement, is just remember at the end of the day, your self-interests are only important to you. Now, people that may love you, care about you, want the best for you, but at the end of the day, you're the one that has to make sure those things happen. You have to take accountability and responsibility for yourself. That's pretty much what she's saying is take accountability and responsibility for yourself and take time for yourself. Too many people are constantly pleasing other people and not taking enough time for themselves and to heal themselves and to do things for themselves. And it's not, I can't stress this enough, it is not an egotistical or self-centered thing to do things for yourself. Take that time to, if you know what I would do all the time when I'm coming home from work is I when I'm on my drive home, I'll turn the radio off sometimes if there's something that I don't want to hear about at that time, and I'll just reflect on my day. I'll reflect on my goals, um, my ambitions, and just uh, let everything go and only worry about what my goals are, what my uh, ambitions. Like I said, things that I want to do and accomplish, or sometimes I just try to clear my mind. I'm driving, so I can't meditate. I guess you can in a form, but just I just try not to worry about the rest of the world and their problems while I'm on my drive home from work because that's my downtime. Because when I get home, I have to get ready to go to the gym if I don't go in the morning, and then have to cook dinner and walk the dogs and do the honey-do list. Whatever's on the honey-do list has to be done. So like they always say, happy wife, happy life. Um, so just take that time for yourself and reflect on the things that you want to do, and just like she said, no one will ever love you as much as you will love yourself. And I hope that somebody finds good in that advice like I did, and I hope it reaches out to someone's heart and sticks with them like it did for me, because it got me through, you know, t- uh, it got me through a really tough time. And let's segue into that for a second because I think it's an interesting conversation to have, and I'd love to have other people that have gone through it on here as well to discuss that. So maybe that'll be a future topic, but. Um, basic training and boot camp, or whatever the entrance training for the military service that you join. To me, the hardest part was I was older when I joined, so I was surrounded by a bunch of um, 17, 18-year olds, and most of them had not gone through any kind of major adversity. They had not um, lived with a partner, a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever their gender of choice is. Um, they most of them had like summer jobs, but not worked a career or a skilled labor job or anything like that. And so I had a lot of experience going in when the instructors would yell at them or ask us to get a task done. Obviously it's chaotic because they're training you to be prepared for very stressful situations such as war. Um, and so it's very interesting thought to um, watch as because I was older, I watched these young men and women, and they how they reacted to stress, and it was at first it was interesting because I'm like, what the hell are they like? People would get upset, man, and like cry or want to quit and break down, and it was interesting to just go through that and see like I'm. To me, it was just another day at work. I got up, did what I was told to do, and shut my mouth when I was supposed to. And I'm not saying I was the poster boy for it because I, we all were trying to get away with doing something while we were there. Like my buddy, my bunkmate would sneak food into the barracks, which if you've watched Full Metal Jacket, that scene when Private Pile sneaks the donut in to the foot locker, and then the drill sergeant or the drill instructor sees it, and he's like freaks out on him and punishes everybody, makes them do push-ups. And so like every time my bunkmate would sneak food in, I'm thinking, oh god, if we get caught, we're gonna get smoked, man. We're getting our asses torn up. And it's funny when I was laying in my bunk and I just see a hand reach down and had a one of our favorite things was a cinnamon pound cake from the MREs, and he had snuck a thing of peanut butter and one of the pound cakes, and he spread peanut butter on top of it. And he just reached his hand down. And he's like, "Hey, you want some of this?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!" It was like probably lights out. I think it was at 9 o'clock, so this is probably 11 o'clock. And I used to take my time while I was laying there at night when lights were out. Instead of sleeping like I was supposed to, I would write home to my girlfriend at the time and my mom, and really just kind of that was what put my mind at ease that night after a long day. So, like I said, we're not everybody. Um, what was I trying to say? So, I mean, yeah, we all trying to get away with something. Whether it was sneaking food in the barracks or staying up late and writing letters or doing our laundry past hours, or I watched a couple of guys do wrestling matches in the barracks when they take all the mats off the bunk beds and throw them on the floor, and they'd start wrestling, and all kinds of fun adolescent things. And like I said, I was older and I watched all these people going through these tough times, new situations that they had never been through, meeting new people. What a You want to talk about diversity somewhere? The military is the most diverse place or organization I think I've ever been a part of. There are people from all backgrounds, all religions, all ethnicities, races, cultures. It's very interesting melting pot. It's probably the most yeah, I guess dynamic or diverse place organization I've ever been a part of. And so I mean, watching these younger folks go through something that most of them I could tell there were some people who had been through really tough times in their life, and those people kind of were like me. They got it. They did what they had to do to graduate and get back to their families or get to their next duty station and just accomplish the goal. And some people, they couldn't hang. They opted to quit, um, and it was sad because when you saw somebody leave or get held back because they failed something or they got injured, it really affected the morale of the whole group. And as time went on, you learn that and you see it, and it kind of helps you get through too, because you're like, we're still here, we need to continue this mission and get through it. And but for me, I was older and I was watching these people go through this, and to me, sometimes I'd I'd watch somebody getting yelled at or get in trouble, and I'm like, what the hell are they crying about? Why are they upset about this? I mean, have you never? For me, I'm a guy, and I'm I live with a woman, and I'm like, have you never lived with a woman? When you don't do something you were told to do, they get freaking mad and you sleep on the couch or get thrown out or whatever. Like, to me, that was. I'm like, well, I have a bed and food. They're not throwing me out, so I'm not super upset about them making me do push-ups and yelling at me because I did something and a little bit longer of time they allow. But I mean, it's a chaotic situation. Their job is to train you to counter stress and chaos in a war situation. So as much stress as they can put on you to achieve that goal. And I understood that, but um, I don't know. And it's very interesting to see how people today just so many people can't handle things, and it's like, why? What's changed in our society where we can't face adversity and face our consequences to our actions and take responsibility and own up to it? It's amazing. I mean, I don't understand it. Um, it's very it's troubling to me. I sit back and I watch the younger generations in my family, and I pray, because that's what I do. I know I'm not here to tell everybody that they should be Christians and Catholics and Muslims or Jewish or whatever. My faith is my faith. I'm not pushing it on anybody, but that is just what I do. Um, I do. I really want the best for everybody, and I just worry sometimes about the mental state of mind for most of our society right now, because it seems like people don't know how to deal with anything anymore. I mean, somebody calls you a name and all they do is want a lynching or a tar and feather out in the streets of the person that called them a name. And it's like, how about you confront those people and grow? I mean, that is the biggest part that bothers me, is the more educated we become, sophisticated, I guess, of a society, is one of the terms or goals that people try to go towards, is like, oh, a society that's sophisticated and educated doesn't act like this. But the more we become um, educated or sophisticated, the less we have, or we lose that natural instinct, that natural ability. I believe this. It's not pushing it on everybody, but to me, I feel like we lose that natural instinct, um, to defend ourselves, to find a way to survive, if you will. Uh, Rob Zombie, I believe, had a. I can't remember right now what the exact verbiage was, but on one of his albums, he had a song, or maybe it's the title or something like that. But it was pretty much along the lines of, the more educated you become, the less humanized we become. We become like robots or something crazy like that. I mean, leave it up to Rob to come up with some cool but crazy analogy for society. But I mean, I feel that. I do believe that. I mean, it's strange to see people leave behind natural instincts and natural ability because they are taught this is how they should be. And I mean, that's not reality. We are what we are. And not saying you shouldn't try to do better, to be better, but to hold some unhuman standard to yourself is, to me, it's crazy. And I think that's a problem with the political structure, especially in the United States right now, is we we don't allow ourselves to be humans, and that's pretty fucking dangerous if you ask me, actually. But we can find somebody that's an expert on these things and bring them on the show and talk to them about it. I just wanted to. It was an interesting tangent I just went on there, and I'd like to reflect on that myself. Excuse me, I'm getting hoarse. Hydrate or die, baby. Hydrate or die. Um, well, let's take a quick promotional break here, and we'll get right back into it. All right. See you on the other side.
The following announcement has been paid for by Barbarian Guns and Subs.
Do you want to be a pencil neck geek all your life? Or do you want to see the yoga pants make the biceps dance every time you hit the House of Games? Then you need Dust X from Blackstone Labs. Dust X, my favorite flavor, sour gummy bear. You will not regret it. Use my promo code Barbarian Guns and Subs for 25 to 30% off your next purchase at BlackstoneLabs.com. Do it now.
So we're back, and I'm just scrolling through my feed on Facebook, and I come across some article by mywebtimes.com, and I don't know how credible of a source this is. Once again, it's just something I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw, and it was the headline that caught my attention as to why I wanted to talk about this, and it actually kind of goes along with accountability, responsibility, and what we were talking about before the break. The article was titled "Right Team." That's WRITE team, and then the subtitle was "Equal Playing Time in Youth Sports." And I don't know how to pronounce this lady's name, so hopefully I'm not butchering it to death. But the article is written by Kristin Heredia, Heredia, something like that. Once again, it's called "Equal Playing Time in Youth Sports." The article looks like it was written back in February, and it starts out. I'll kind of give you a quick little reading from the article. It says, I recently attended a sporting event where I witnessed a father talking to his distraught daughter. The daughter was not currently getting as much playing time as her teammates, and she was very visibly upset about this. Instead of going and complaining to all the parents in the bleachers or going to the coach to complain, the father asked his daughter these questions, and it's in quotations. When was the last time you have been to the gym to work on your skills? Have you been working in the weight room? Have you had a good attitude? And have you been working like a team player? In quotes. And let's talk about that for just a second, because as we were saying earlier about accountability and responsibility and the fragile mindset that seems to have taken over most of society, I think this goes quite in hand with what we were discussing. Now, granted, I don't know the age. Let me see if it says anything about the age in here. By the time kids reach junior high level, the idea of so yeah, it doesn't say. I'm assuming this is maybe a pee wee league or something like that. I'm not sure. I don't even know. It doesn't say the age group, but um, it's It starts here. It starts with the younger generations, and as parents and role models, mentors, teachers, coaches, um, any type of authority figure or leadership position should be teaching the younger generations how to deal with rejection, how to own uh, mistakes, and just be accountable and responsible. And we got to stop handing out these so called quote unquote participation trophies. I know at a younger age the kids need to learn how to play and learn about sports, and that's fine. The first couple years that you're playing should be about getting interest in the sport, learning some basics, and not just sports are not just about sports. It's also about teamwork, growing yourself and others, and camaraderie, and that's important. But it's also whether or not you're good at a sport after a few years of trying it out, and whether or not it's something you should continue to do. I'm of the belief that we should continue to grow in the areas that we're already great at. Um, and that's not saying that you shouldn't put time to become better or to learn new things, but most of your efforts should go towards perfecting the things that you are already naturally good at. So as to nourish your talents, your natural abilities and talents. That's what we should focus the majority of our time on. Now, that does not mean, like I said, that we should stop learning new things, but what you are very good at, you should perfect and focus on the most. And I think that the younger generations need to have somebody who can um, show them what they are and are not good at, and the areas they need to uh, work on to perfect. And that's the thing with participation trophies. At a young age, it's fine because you're just trying to garner interest and see what they want to do, what they are naturally good at. But there comes a time where you have to draw the line and say, okay, we're not going to reward you just because you did something, when there's people who are actually doing well at those things that you did, and you're just taking up space and time for somebody who is better than you. And that's kind of um, so. Go back to the article real quick, because this is a line I wanted to put in here as well. Um, she could not answer these questions to her father. He then responded to her, quote unquote, "This is one person's problem, yours. You need to make it so they have no choice but to leave you in because you are that good and valuable to the team." And that is very important. And the author says here, quoting again from the story, um, "I wanted to give kudos to this parent for putting the responsibility, for putting the responsibility back on the daughter and making it a life lesson. He did not handle this all too common situation by engaging in the whispering bleacher banner or yelling profanities at your coach throughout the game. This father chose to put the responsibility on this daughter, on his daughter, to make her realize she needed to improve her performance and her attitude if she wanted to increase her playing time. The onus is on the child. Once again, like I said, I'm not unreasonable. If this is a third grader who's still trying to figure out if they even like this sport, that's different. But if this kid's been playing for 4 or 5 years, and you know doesn't have the interest to become the best, um, then yeah, maybe the child shouldn't be playing if they're not trying to perfect the skills they have and learn new skills towards that specific, specific sport. And it sounds harsh. I mean, it's not harsh. It's just because society has gotten very fragile. We do not own up to our we don't own it. We don't take responsibility and accountability for anything anymore. And I thought this was a great article. I'm gonna post a link on the Facebook page, which is Barbarian Guns and Subs or Barbarian GNS Fit, um, and also on Instagram. And I'll post a link here on the YouTube channel for this podcast session. And if you're listening on SoundCloud, I'll post a link for the article as well in there. But I just wanted to share that because I think it went along with what we were talking about earlier. Um, so, I mean, I don't know. It's a tough situation. It's a tough thing to talk about because on one end, I do see the side that says, kids just want to have fun, let kids be kids. I totally 100% agree. Kids should just be kids. But in today's society, we keep putting more and more and more things out there that are more young adult and adult topics and notions for kids. And we have to stop doing that. We have to go back to letting the children figure out who they are on, as they go through life and help them when we can, guide them, mentor them, but stop coddling to the point where they can't grow. It's like when I moved down to Texas, we went out and bought pots and started growing jalapenos, banana peppers, cilantro, tomatoes, and some other plants, citronella to keep the mosquitoes away. Because if you live down here in South Texas, mosquitoes, when it rains or any time, apparently, they are just in abundance and they swarm on you. But, um, we didn't want to over soil, over water them. We want, and we're having good growth out of those plants because we do nurture them. We do take care of them. We make sure they get sunlight and make sure they get water and they're feeding, but we don't overdo it because then you kill the plant. And it's the same thing with a person. If you do everything for them and they don't learn, they don't grow, they can't survive on their own, and so they're always dependent. They're always dependent if you do everything for them, and that is the big issue with the participation trophy opposition. Is at what point does it stop where you start rewarding based on performance and merit versus effort by everyone, even those who did not win. I have this argument all the time with the people of particularly the NFL, when it comes to that, but also with the NBA arguments and debates that I get into. Um, Give me just 1 second. I'm posting that link up there. Um, the great debate right now in NBA is LeBron James the GOAT? Is he better than Jordan? And statistically, um, he makes a good argument for himself. You can't deny him his athleticism, his ability, or his statistics. But basketball and being the greatest at basketball means the entire sport, the entire lifestyle, the entire um, what's the word I'm looking for here? The embodiment of the basketball player is not just stats. Because if it were just stats, somebody is better than Michael Jordan at a lot of things, and somebody is better than LeBron at a lot of things, and it's stats. But most of the time, when you have this debate with somebody, you have the crowd that's like, "Well, LeBron doesn't have as many rings as Jordan does, and uh, that's why LeBron's not better than Jordan. That's why he's not the GOAT." And then you have the people who are well, Jordan doesn't have this many stats and LeBron's breaking these records and blah, 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 blah. And they're both right. And my argument always is that if you have a team sport and that team doesn't do well, but that player does well, that player still stands out. That player still goes to the All Star game. That player still gets the Nike deal or the Reebok deal or whatever deal. That player still gets the endorsements from other brands, not the team, but the player. So, and that's off court stuff. But so the argument for me is I think rings do matter because no one plays a sport to be second best. I've never met an athlete, no matter what sport it is, MMA, boxing, basketball, football, golf, tennis, track and field, swimming. I've never met an athlete who says, well, I want to be second place. Uh, it's kind of stupid. But in Talladega Nights, Ricky Bobby says it, if you ain't first, you're last. And that might be a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people because, I've been a competitor. I've played sports, and I know that losing when you've put your heart and soul into something, it sucks. It's a terrible feeling. Nobody likes to lose, which is why I say nobody wants to be second. Nobody's goal is to be second best. So in the end, rings do matter because rings are what solidifies you as being the best, and people can argue that all day long. And I know competitors who try to argue that, and I think it's just to coat their to protect their fragile ego because when they lost, they still want to say, "Well, I was the best. I just didn't win." Well, you can't be the best if you didn't win, and so I think rings do matter. Championships do matter. Is it the only factor? No, and that's where I was going with this debate. Rings are not the only factor, but they are a factor. Championships are not the only factor, but they are a factor. If you're going to be the greatest in the world at what you do, you cannot be second place. So, LeBron breaking records and having number one stats in all these different areas, yes, he is amazing. He is great, but he's not the greatest of all time. You cannot call LeBron James the GOAT at this moment. He has what? 3 rings? Four, three, four? I don't remember right now off the top of my head, but Jordan had 6. Kobe has 5. I'm not saying Kobe is better than LeBron or that he's close to LeBron. I think it's actually easier to compare Kobe and Jordan than it is to compare LeBron and Kobe and Jordan or LeBron and Jordan because LeBron is a very talented individual. He plays different positions, whereas Kobe and Jordan played the shooting guard position. So it's hard to say LeBron's not great, and I would never argue that, even though I'm not a LeBron fan. This year's going to be an interesting one because now he's on my team, the Lakers, and I'm interested to see how that team reacts with Lonzo, Kuzma, Stevenson. I got McGee, um, Rondo on there. It's going to be a good year for the Lakers, I think, and you can't deny that LeBron does change things for that team, but in the debate of is LeBron the GOAT, he's doing very well for himself to make that argument, but I don't think we're there because, like I said, basketball player to be the greatest, it encompasses the entire um, process, and that process is winning games, creating stats, being a great player, being athletic. Um, And anybody who argues that championships don't matter, that championships are a team thing, LeBron has taken the Cavaliers to um, the playoffs and the finals how many times now? And that team, it was terrible. Though none of those players on that team were even second best. I know they didn't win, so they were second best, but that team was not second best. LeBron James was second best to the Warriors, and that's just a hard pill to swallow. But I don't think you'll find anybody that wants to argue that right now, because when you watch the Cavaliers, you were only watching to watch LeBron James. And so, yes, it's a team effort, but it's all a team effort. LeBron, Kobe, Jordan, Magic, Kareem, none of those people would be where they are without their team. But that doesn't mean that the team, the actual name rosters on that team, are what made any of those players great. I think they made their team great. I think the team made them great. But I think you put LeBron or Kobe or Jordan or anybody else on another team that had just as good players, and they still win the championships. They still go to the big games. So I don't say that LeBron winning 3 or 4 championships and Kobe winning 5 and Jordan winning 6 is a team effort. I think it's the team plus the player and the player plus the team. So, and that's the same with stats. That's the same argument you can make with stats. It's the same argument you make with championships and playoff games and all that, because Jordan couldn't go on the court with 4 other players that were at high school level in the NBA and playing an NBA team and still win those championships. However, Jordan also could have went on the court with the best team, the best players in the league, and still not won a championship. So I think that it still matters that that player has a huge impact on whether or not they won or lost those championships. And that is, maybe I'm confusing people. So to break it to make it simple, I think LeBron, Kobe, Jordan, they elevate their team no matter who's on that team. But I don't think that team makes it to the playoffs without them, and I think they make it to the playoffs with another team. So it's an irrelevant point to make to say, well, championships are a team thing. Look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady, sorry, has a bunch of non-all-star, no-name players around him all the time. Bill Belichick's always finding some oddity and making him a Super Bowl champion because Tom Brady and Belichick are that good. I am not a Patriots fan at all. Do not like them. But every time I watch a Patriots game and I watch Tom Brady play, I realize I'm watching the greatest quarterback of all time play. And that is very angering. That angers me a lot to say that, because I do not like the Patriots or Tom Brady. But it's, you got to recognize it. And it's the same thing with LeBron. When you watch LeBron play, you're watching something special, because there's nobody else in the league right now that is even close to LeBron's caliber. And I mean, it's the way it is. Rings matter, championships matter, winning matters. When you're in a competitive arena, no matter what it is, politics, these podcasts, music, movies, nobody makes a film and says, well, I hope I don't have the best film available. Everybody wants to put out the best product possible. Everybody wants to be the best them they can be. And sometimes they fall short. And especially when you're in a competitive situation. So, like, when I go to the gym, there's a dude's way bigger than me in the gym, but I'm not there to compete with them. But when I step on a mat to do boxing or jiu-jitsu or taekwondo or MMA or a bodybuilding competition, whatever it is that I'm competing in, I don't want to lose. I want to be number 1. I don't want to be number 2. If I'm number 2 and somebody gives me an award, I don't hang that up. I keep it because it's a memory, but I don't display it. I only display my number 1s. I only display the golds. I only display the wins. And I learn from the losses, but I don't I don't let the losses bring me down because it's a learning experience, but I don't advertise a failure. And nobody plays a sport, nobody competes to lose. So when you say rings don't matter, championships don't matter, yes, they do. Without a doubt, 100% winning in a competition matters if you are playing that competition. There are people who have killed themselves because they've lost competitive events that they poured their heart and soul into, that they've dedicated their time and sacrificed everything, their time with their family, important events, important dates, just to prepare for a competition. So winning does matter, and I, people who argue that are only doing it to pad their fragile egos. And that's just my opinion on that situation. You can argue with me all you want, but to me, that's the reality of the situation. And I just I don't. Um, I think we need, like I was saying earlier, we need to start teaching the younger generations and start mentoring and coaching for them to accept a loss as a learning experience, but that if they're going to compete, they're competing to win. They're competing to be the best, whether that's to be the best themselves or to be better than the person that's on the opposite side of them. And it's, I don't want to say it's not okay or that it is okay to lose, because failure and losing are not okay in real world situations where something important is at stake. However, you do learn from your losses and you do learn from your failures. So we need to be teaching that if you fail, if you lose, if you don't do your best, the lesson there is that you learn what you did wrong. You learn how to fix what you did wrong, and you do it better the next time. That you keep going. You pick yourself up and you get back on your horse and you go back to work. You fix those problems, you keep fixing more, and you just do it. And that is why I said we should not waste the majority of our time doing things that we're not already good at. You should maximize your time by maximizing your efforts on the things that you are already great at so that you become perfect or as close to perfect that you can be at those situations. That does not mean stop learning new things. It just means maximizing your time. We have a short amount of time on this earth, whether we want to admit it or not, until scientists come up with some awesome way, which I've heard rumblings that things like that are going on, that you can save your brain or import it into something, and that's cool if that happens someday. But right now, we have a time limit here, and we need to maximize our time to become the best that we can be at whatever it is that we are great at. And that's I mean, it starts with the younger generations. It starts with us passing down. If you lose, learn from it. Pick yourself up and keep going. If you win, keep going. Keep winning. Keep doing and learning and doing things, but don't stop. And if you do lose, keep going. Make yourself better. Don't come up with excuses. Don't blame other people. Don't look for coddling when you fail. Just pick yourself up and keep going. People will be next to you. People will support you. People will be with you. Just keep going. Show them why they're with you. Show them why they should support you, why they should help pick you back up when you're down. But don't depend on them to pick you up when you're down, because, as I said earlier, no one will love you more than you will love yourself. And that's that seems to be the theme of the day. And it's the truth. That's how I feel about it. And if you want to argue about it, feel free. DM me, Facebook message me. Uh, we'll talk about it. We can talk about it all day long, and I look forward. I'm not one of those people that doesn't learn from other people. Actually, I learn a lot from debating people, even if it doesn't seem like it. I'm very open minded, um, and that's like an area that I love to do is debate, but I lose debates all the time. I won't tell them that because then they'll be like, "Oh, I got one over on this guy." Yeah, whatever. Let's go again. Um, But yeah, I mean, I'll post this article up so you can read it, and would love to see what other people think about it. Okay, so let's segue here into another topic. Want to kind of go over some entertainment things that have caught my eye today. Obviously, with the release of the Carter 5 from Lil Wayne, his long awaited album, the Carter 5 is out. I have not listened to it yet. My feed's been blowing up all day from Wayne stands and hip hop heads and people who just love music and they're raving about it. I saw one conversation between my cousins. He was saying one said it was a better album than Travis Scott's Astro World or Drake's Scorpion, and then another cousin replied back, "Oh, you're crazy. Yeah, it's better than Astro World, but not better than Scorpion." I have not listened to either one of those albums either. Like I said, I'm kind of behind on the times and things that uh, people are into, but I do know who Lil Wayne is, and I've liked some of his projects in the past, so I'll check it out and I'll listen to it. I'm still listening heavy rotation of the new Eminem album, um, but maybe this weekend I'll go through the Carter 5 playlist and give my 2 cents on what I think about it, and we'll talk. We'll have haters and praisers and everything else once that happens. Um, Another thing, so I've been watching Netflix originals and just TV shows lately. It's almost October. In the month of October, I go heavy into horror films and just shows to deal with the macabre and uh, just scary films, um, things like that are just like I said during the months of October and really all throughout fall. That is the entertainment that I like to go through. I'm from the Midwest, so we take Halloween very serious, and I'm not there this year, but the haunted hay rides and the haunted houses, have probably started popping up, and people start going to them. Um, Maybe I'll try to find some around here in Texas. One of the things that I've noticed in this city where I live at now that the um, Mexican holiday, or I don't even want to call it the Mexican holiday, but the Dia de los Muertos or Dia de Muerto. If I'm saying that correctly as well, I don't know. If not, don't shoot me. I'm just going off memory here, but believe it's from October 30th or October 31st through November 2nd, and it's basically honoring the dead. So they do festivals and parades around here and have decorations and stuff. So I've kind of this year to celebrate this new tradition that I'm finding out about with the Dia de Muerto, kind of infusing that with Halloween. Um, so we've decorated the house kind of with the natural Halloween vibes of the horror and excuse me all that type of decoration, but we've also gotten some decorations for the Day of the Dead. And but so back kind of what I was saying with the Netflix thing is I've been watching a bunch of Netflix originals like the show Slasher. I am very very impressed. When I first watched the I think I watched it backwards. I think I said that wrong yesterday. So season 2 was actually what played first on Netflix for some reason, and now I'm watching season 1. Season one's pretty interesting. I think it's called The Executioner. The other one was called Guilty Party. So the executioner basically, I don't want to give away too much of the details, but it's the killer in the show has a very cool um, mask, and it's kind of based off of the old executioner from the medieval days that we think of when they had people on a noose or we're gonna chop their heads off. But it's like a leather. It kind of looks like the Batman mask fused with an executioner mask made out of rubber. It's pretty awesome. Um, and he's pretty violent. He's So basically the show opens up with this guy in the executioner mask. He walks into this guy's house, and the guy thinks it's his friend dressed up. So he's talking to him. Well, then his friend knocks on the door, and he's like looking at that guy and looking at him. He's like, "Who the hell are you?" And then that guy kills the house owner and his wife, and the other dude runs away. And then you find out later on that he had been arrested, and now he's in jail. And the child of the two that died in the beginning is now like seeking counsel with him to catch this new murderer who's kind of imitating him. And I haven't gotten through the whole thing yet, but it's a very interesting story for a show. And they have renewed it for a third season. The second season, Guilty Party, actually was what I watched first, and it's really cool because what they do is take they take kind of borrow ideas from Friday the 13th, and they also borrow like the Agatha Christie, and then there was none, or and then there was one type deal. But they also, I'm trying to think of Sleepaway Camp, I think is what it's called. They go with that, so it's very interesting. I don't want to give away the ending, but they do. The ending is kind of cool because it's like what the flip side of Friday the 13th would have been. Um, I mean, it's definitely worth watching. I would definitely recommend it, and I don't know if it's a 5 star or what the system is on Netflix, but I definitely rated it pretty high. Once again, it's called Slasher, and that um, I don't know any of the actors and actresses in the show, but it's very very good. Um, I also watched this short stories called Double X on there, and it was basically from a woman's point of view. All 4 stories were from a woman's point of view. Uh, it wasn't as interesting as Slasher has been to me, but definitely worth watching. Especially the first short story about this little kid who looked inside of a box of this stranger on a subway train, and then he ends up dying. And the mom kind of, you see her pain as she goes through watching him die and watching the rest of the family struggle. And I think eventually the family dies too, and she's the only one left. But definitely worth watching. And then I love Evil Dead, especially Army of Darkness and Smart Ash, or what Ash was an awesome character in Evil Dead and the Army of Darkness. So uh, there's a new show on Netflix, or I think it's actually on Stars, the Stars channel. So definitely not going to give away anything that happens in the show as I'm still watching it. I'm in season 1 still, but if you like Army of Darkness and Evil Dead, you'll definitely love this. I mean, it's inappropriate. It's not for the PC crowd. It's definitely entertaining and fun. It doesn't look as cheap and low budget as the original Army or Evil Dead, excuse me, was, but it's definitely good. It's worth it to watch it if you're an Evil Dead fan, Ash fan, Army of Darkness. Definitely give it a chance. And so, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up today's podcast. And once again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, gripes, dislikes, feel free to message me on any of the social media mediums. And have a wonderful day, evening, whatever. if you never come back again, then don't let the door hit you where you were split.